Hello everyone, my name's Kamal. Welcome to the last and final video of our Diablo 4 initial skill breakdown week 1 reveal of all the characters series. So, Sorceress. That's where we're at now. We have the Sorceress Talent Tree to look over. Like I said, it's the last one. We've gone over the Druid. We've gone over the Barbarian. We've gone over the Sorceress's skills. Now it's time to look at the last and final point, the Talent Tree. I almost said the skill tree. I do that all the fucking time. It's the Talent Tree. If I say tree, this is what I mean by tree. So, if you like this video, please consider liking, subscribing, all that good shit, links, all that fun stuff down in there. Let's get into it. This is the most unique skill tree of all the different classes. As you can see right here, it has your initial points that you can invest into, and then it breaks up into 3 different categories that you can follow. You really kind of pick and choose which way you want to go with. You know, you've got just basic ones, then you've got cold, and then you've got your lightning over here, and then you've got, of course, your fire over here. So let's read through them. First things first, basic ones. First node, step 1 is potential warding. So potential warding, elemental damage, and resistances are increased by 10%. That's 10% with 5 out of 5, so 2% per skill point. Then we have a devastation. Critical strike chance is increased by 10%. That's with 5 out of 5, so 2% per skill point. Then we have align the elements. Align the elements. The mana cost of your mastery spells is reduced by 5%. 5% stacks up to 25, it looks like. Then we will come down here at the second node. You have 3 options here, and it looks like Precision Magic, which is your elemental damage increases over time up to a maximum of 5%, stacking up to 25% after 3 seconds. Attacking resets this effect. So if you don't deal any damage, you don't do anything, you don't attack, it stacks up, and then your first initial attack will do a lot more damage. The next thing we have down here is Elemental Attunement. Elemental critical strikes reduce the cooldown of your defensive skills by 5%. Your defensive skill by 5%. I just realized that I don't think we're going to have the ability to move around any of the skills like we did in Diablo 3. Let's continue the video. So, elemental critical strikes reduce the cooldown of your defensive skills by 5% up to 25% if you have all 5 points invested, and then in extra reach, your damage is increased by 3% against enemies outside of melee range, stacking up to, it looks like, 15%. And then, let's see, we'll look over the fire skills first because it's just more convenient. So the first one we have in this node is Char to Ash. It says fire damage is increased by 6%, stacking up to 30% each second, up to 30%. This effect resets when you take damage. So that 30% is actually increased up to, what is that, 150%? So you can do... It looks like fire damage is increased by 6%, so 30% each second. So if it stacks correctly, if the numbers are right, it would be 30% up to 150% total. So that's potentially pretty good. Soulfire, it says fire damage is increased by 4% after standing still for 1.5 seconds. Moving cancels this effect, and that does stack up to 20% additional damage for not moving. Then in the fire, we have Blaze of Glory, and it says fire critical strike damage is increased by 3%. In addition, burning damage is increased by 2%, or burning enemies deal 2% less to you. So that stacks up to 15% more damage that your critical strike will be doing, and then 10% less damage that the enemies that you have burning will be doing to you. The next skill point or talent point that we have available at this node is going to be Burning Resonance. And Burning Resonance, it is a on-hit effect that damaging a burning enemy has a 25% chance to restore 2% up to 10% mana. So that's how your fire abilities have the potential to regen your mana. As you saw in the other video, we had a way to get it back with lightning, but that was the only way that we saw thus far. It looks like this is how we get it back with fire, but let's carry onward. We then have Devouring Flame, which says each source of burning on an enemy increases the direct damage of your fire spells by 2% up to 2%, but that's stacking, it looks like, up to 50, or 50? Fuck, that'd be a lot. Up to 10%. The last two we have down here are going to be the ultimate abilities, so you choose from one of these. We have burning effects deal an additional 15% for each second the target remains burning, up to 75%, or conflagration, which will be your direct fire damage, deals an additional 30% damage to burning targets. So very, very heavy emphasis on burning in the fire tree. No one is surprised. Or at least they shouldn't be. So pretty standard fire tree, lots of burning, lots of damage over time, lots of bonuses from enemies burning, and even more damage over time from that burning. So fire seems like it could be potentially good. A lot of damage, potentially a lot of damage output. Let's read through the cold tree now. So the first one we have to choose from is Numbing Cold. Chilled enemies deal 4% less damage to you, stacking up to 20% less damage. And then we have Icy Touch. Cold damage is increased by 2%, stacking up to 10%. We then have, in the next node, Cold Snap, which is you apply 4% more chill, stacking up to 20%. So if it's 20% more chill per stack, that could make it to where maybe hitting them with 1, potentially 2, maybe on the very low end dice roll shitty scenario like Kamal, maybe 3 hits to freeze them versus the standard, I would imagine maybe 5 or so. Once again, we don't know. This is just me taking, stabs in the dark, shots at what they might be. Then we have Hoarfrost, which is after casting Blizzard, your next cold skills deal 4% more damage, stacking up to 20%. Then we have Frostbite, which is damage against chilled enemies is increased by 2% up to 10%. Last thing we have down here is our ultimate abilities. You get to choose between one of these once again. And you have Chill to the Bone, which cold damage against frozen enemies is increased by 30%. Or we have Endless Winter, which is critical strike chance against chilled and frozen enemies is increased by 30%. But your chill effects no longer freeze. I don't know about that one. I don't know. Once again, we're not theory crafting in this episode though, so we're gonna continue reading through. So then we have Lightning. Lightning is going to be our third and final skill tree option that we have on our source, so let's go ahead and read through. Did I say skill tree again? I meant talent tree, but you already knew that. So we have Ceaseless Bolts. Lightning critical strikes increase your critical strike chance by 2%, stacking up to 10, for 5 seconds up to 10%, which will stack up to 50%, or presumably. Then we have, we have Overcharge, which is an on-hit effect, which lightning critical strikes have up to a 1% chance to release 3 charged bolts, and that does stack up to 5%, so causing your lightning attacks on hit to cause a charged bolt to ring out from the enemy, so that's potentially pretty good. Can cause a lot of CC, a lot of explosion type fun stuff. So then we're going to have on the second to last one, right before our ultimate, we have Stagger, which is enemies deal 4% up to 20% less damage for 3 seconds after being hit by your lightning skills. We also have Convulsions, which is an on-hit effect. Again, lightning skills have up to a 2% chance, stacking up to 10%, to stun enemies for up to, or not up to, but for 3 seconds. Then we have Crackling Aura, and that deals, looks like 301 to 368 lightning damage to a random enemy every 11 seconds. I have no clue how that's going to be affected, but because it's numerical, I'm guessing it's going to go down. So it could potentially go down to every 1 second, or maybe every 6 seconds, or if they do it, 1.5 seconds per skill, maybe every 3 seconds. I don't know, 3.5 seconds maybe. I'm not sure what the math is on that exactly, but just, taking a random shot in the dark, I would imagine they would allow you to drop it down to maybe a 1 second cast time, or probably around 3 or 4 seconds. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Once again, this is just, we're looking at what we've got so far. And then for your ultimate abilities here for the source, the last 2 talents we have to choose from. You have either Shocking Strike, which is each time your lightning skills hit an enemy, they take 8% increased damage, or 8% increased lightning damage for 1.5 seconds up to 40%. So that's a stacking lightning damage debuff. Or Lightning Mastery, which lightning damage is increased by 40% against enemies within melee range, which I guess that could play a pretty big role into the Nova ability. So it seems like Lightning is going to be probably the best tree. No one's surprised. Normally, lightning sources are very, very strong, very, very powerful, even in Diablo 2. I mean, they were one of the best. They could have some of the highest damage output, but I don't know. I'm still hoping that we see substantial changes into these talent trees, and in the video tomorrow, we're going to be doing a full-on sit-down, talk about it, long-form discussion about how I feel fully about what I'm seeing from the game thus far, if I'm excited, if I'm not, what I think is good, what I think is not good, everything like that. So be sure to stick around, stay tuned. Like I said, we'll be doing this tomorrow. If you enjoy this video, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, all that good shit. Yeah, I'm out.